listen to a brief clip from GameSpot of Thrones. If you'd like to watch the full episode, head over to youtube.com/GameSpot. Please beware of spoilers. All right, let's talk about some Hound. We've been big fans of the Gravedigger theory from the books and also the Cleganebowl theory. We've got extended videos on like exactly breaking those down and what like all the evidence for and against. But basically, Gravedigger theory is that Brienne of Tarth travels to a place called the Quiet Isle, meets a bunch of peaceniks, basically monks, penitent men, and sees a man who could be the Hound, sees the Hound's horse, and talks with a guy who says, no, the Hound is dead. The persona of the Hound is dead. Sandor Clegane is still alive. So that's the Gravedigger. And Cleganebowl is that the Hound is going to represent the faith, and the Mountain will represent the crown in a battle
trial by combat
for Cersei Lannister's life. So it seems like all these are kind of like all these pieces are falling into place, and that this might actually happen this season. Finally, now we've got the Hound back. But I think it's quite interesting that there's some slight differences between how it's gone down in the show compared to how the events have kind of been seeded in the book. So I thought, for example, that Ian McShane would play the elder brother, who is like this really pious man and leader of the Quiet Isle. But he didn't. He played Septon Meribald, who is basically he's a wandering Septon. He's been wandering for about 40 years, and he leads Brienne and co to the Quiet Isle. He's not the leader of it. So I thought that was quite interesting. I guess it's just for ease of time that they cut the elder brother.
Right.
And I mean, if you've got an actor like Ian McShane, you
want to capitalize on that.
Yeah.
I mean, one episode, one death, but whatever. Also, I like the fact that the Hound he's the wood chopper instead of the Gravedigger, because that makes more logical sense.
Yeah, it's kind of like thematically, it's a little more lighter. Like it shows where he could have gone. If he's if he's digging graves, it kind of might make the audience feel like, oh, he's still kind of a grim dude. Whereas
the only
if
thing
he's chopping wood,
death.
he's
and I
creating.
Think he needed a task that would like maintain his strength as well.
Yeah.
So like digging graves,
keep
chopping
them
wood.
biceps.
Yeah, because if he was just if he was a chef, when he goes up against the mountain when Cleganebowl happens, he'd be like, ugh,
I'll chop you really quickly.
I've all wasted away.
What I thought was interesting is the conversation between Meribald and the Hound. They cut this amazing speech that was in the book where they talk about men who abandon armies. Although I think that's quite symbolic as well.
Yeah.
Because we see in the north that Jon is completely failing to raise a big army. And the army that he has, we saw them infighting.
Yeah.
So that could be, those guys aren't, maybe they don't cut it, maybe they will run
And the
away.
Hound himself abandoned the Lannisters.
Yeah. Exactly. But also what we have is Meribald talking about when he was a warrior and he cut the throat of a young man, a boy, while his mother looked on and was sad and crying. He says, like, her screams haunt my dreams, which is quite, like, it's such strong parallels to Catelyn Stark, who watched as Robb dies and then she has her own throat cut.
Yeah.
So, I mean, also what I quite liked is that talking about the suffering of like the men on the front lines, and then you get the parallels from the Glovers talking and saying, no, like we're not joining you because
we've suffered enough.
We've suffered enough for you.
It is really a contained arc to kind of re-establish the Hound, and kind of because the speech that Septon Meribald gives is pretty much the most heinous thing you can do in any universe. Like he's killed a child in front of the mother, and Hound is probably at that point thinking, this dude's a real bad dude, but he's got the peace thing going on. People like look up to him, and he's building something for the future. Maybe he's thinking about what he's done and how he could potentially do the same thing.
Yeah.
But then obviously over the course of, the events that happen, it's kind of like, actually, I think I'm a dude that likes to kill people because, all my would-be friends are now dead. So I'm going to chop some heads.
Does being peaceful guarantee you
It
safety?
doesn't.
Yeah.
Like
in the
it
end,
doesn't.
Yeah. In the end, the Hound feels like he was right because, Meribald was trying to present something else, and Hound did kind of resist it. He was always talking about how, peace never worked for him or anything like that. And in the end, he's proven correct because, all the peaceniks are dead and he's alive. So he's got a job to do now.
Chopping wood. Save him.
Yep.
But also what's interesting is when Meribald is talking about the boys that he killed, it's quite interesting that like some people online are thinking, was he part of the push to kill all of Robert Baratheon's bastards, which could be an interesting one. I don't know if that's really confirmed. We don't really know where he's been.
Yeah.
But also let's talk about this scene is that the Brotherhood without banners come, and they are really quite different. Like obviously they would terrorize like the Lannisters and the Freys, but to attack a peaceful kind of colony, says something, I think, about their leadership. So if Beric Dondarrion is still in charge, I can't see that. But we're going into book theory territory now, which is Lady Stoneheart. So if you haven't read the books, probably a good idea to step back now. But Lady Stoneheart is the name that's been bandied around for the end of this season. The reanimated corpse, essentially, of Catelyn Stark, who is full of vengeance, and she takes control of the Brotherhood without banners, and basically just like they go ham.
Yeah, they just start killing mercilessly, wanton killing.
There is a couple of connections between the Brotherhood without banners, Beric Dondarrion, and what we see the Septon talking to the Hound, because the Septon says to the Hound, the gods aren't finished with you. And when the Hound was their prisoner, Beric Dondarrion said the same thing to the Hound.
God still has a plan for you or something like that.
Yeah.
And obviously the Brotherhood say things like, for the night is dark and full of terrors. So maybe like the Lord of Light's magic has brought Catelyn back, and that's why they keep saying that, and that's more reinforced, I guess. But also Catelyn's calling card is hanging people. So, well, Lady Stoneheart's calling card is hanging people, and so obviously Ian McShane at the end.
Yeah, their hanging game this season has been real good. Like
good hangs.
Some good hanging people.
Ollie.
Excellent prop work.
So where do we think, with all this in mind, I know this season people have been managing to travel like, they could be right at the south of the country and then be north of the wall in like a day. Does he have time to go deal with the Brotherhood and then still make it back to King's Landing?
I think the time frame is Cersei's trial by combat, right? Like she's hinted that it's only a few days away. But with all the stuff the Faith is going through, like it might be rescheduled, like rain check for that.
Yeah.
And the Quiet Isle isn't really, it's not up north. It's fairly southish. So in theory, there's time.
Yeah.
The Lady Stoneheart thing, I think maybe, as much as I would love that, are they going to kind of suffer with bringing too many people back
Well, the thing is,
quickly?
We know that Thoros of Maya, so the guy that plays him, like someone put on his website, yes, he's definitely confirmed to come back in season 6 of Game of Thrones. So we know he's going to make a return. But like, I don't know if it makes sense to bring Lady Stoneheart back at this point.
I think she's going to be a key plot point of whatever they do in the future, not right now. Maybe at the end of the season we see like a picture of Catelyn Starr's face or something like that.
They'll do like the Jon Snow, like
the eyes opening
right?
or something like that, or like just her appearing from the shadows, and then that's what's explored going forward. I think for the Hound to deal with all of that stuff,
it'd be too much too fast.
Too much, and like you said, like bringing back multiple characters from death in one season might be a bit too much. Like people are still kind of dealing with what the implications of Jon Snow coming back means. He's changed as a character. To bring that Catelyn back and have her drastically shift in the way she was, it would be really difficult to reconcile all these kind of moving gears together. So I think that the whole Lady Stoneheart thing needs to be its own focus later on.
Yeah, I think what's interesting what you said about Jon was that if he's been brought back to life, he doesn't seem to have that much of a personality change. He's still the moody kind of. There was one episode where he was like, "Oh, my watch is over," but then like he's not going around killing everyone, killing innocents. Whereas it's going to be difficult for show viewers to kind of appreciate that if Lady Stoneheart comes back and she's a complete vengeful bitch.
At the same time, Catelyn Stark did see all her children, her pregnant daughter-in-law, all her loyal men and her family killed before she then murdered a young girl.
Yeah.
So, I could appreciate that. Jon was killed by his friends, but Catelyn saw her whole family and lineage killed, and at that point, her kids were missing.
Was her,
yeah. So, I can appreciate if Catelyn's a bit more perturbed than Jon.
There's like a level of understanding as well to it. Like Catelyn, her death was unexpected almost. It was like a trap. Whereas Jon Snow, he kind of had the feeling that something was going on, and almost you could imagine him understanding why he was killed. Like, that was always a point of, conflict between himself and Ollie and the rest of the Night's Watch that were on the other side. So when it finally happened, you imagine that he knew why that happened, which kind of grounded him somewhat. So when he came back, there wasn't this like, question mark over what happened, or like this kind of burning rage to get a vengeance for it. At the moment he came back, it was almost like he understood what had happened, and he knew that what was going to happen next was those people were going to die, and he took care of it. So like all that stuff was resolved straight away. Whereas for Catelyn, she comes back, all her kids are dead, everyone responsible is scattered, so she's got the reason to be vengeful.
What I find interesting is that I feel like by bringing so many characters back, by bringing John, by bringing the Mountain back, by bringing essentially the Hound back, you're kind of lessening the impact of death in the show.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we've had key characters die before, like Ned, we've had Joffrey, Tywin, whoever, Rob, and they I guess they don't have a chance of coming back.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know...
Where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
I think the main implication of this, though, is that it's sowing the seeds of Cleganebowl and Lady Stoneheart happening, but I think they're sown too late, and we're not going to get to see them until next season.